Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So I'll be reading out of Sotapattimagga this morning, Path of Freedom, or the Path of the Sotapanna by Ajahn Anan. Just a few selected chapters. First one is when Kamma arises, investigate the body, page 41. Sometimes we may think, oh, why is it that everyone around me seems so sure of themselves and free of doubts, though I'm filled with them? It's because though our wanting to see the Dhamma has come about through a lot of listening and studying, which is a form of wisdom, it causes us to expect certain results. It's a constant struggle that gives rise to restlessness. We want so much to achieve. Angpacha would say to put it aside for now, just leave it alone at this point. It's just like a glass filled with water. We have to pour the water out before we can put drinking water in. If the glass is filled with water already, the drinking water can't go in, it will overflow. In the same way, if we think we know everything, then the Dhamma can't enter our heart. So at first we need to reduce deceitful, conceited opinion. This is really important in the way of practice Longpa taught. Longpa's style was to lead by example and to do as he taught. Sometimes we might be careless and think critically of him, letting our sense of self come up in the mind. But when we continue the practice, we would admit, who am I to criticize him? I can't keep up with him. Maybe we have good samadhi. In those days when my samadhi was good, piti would arise. I could get to upachara samadhi. My mind was cool and at ease. No mental disturbances would enter. Entering states of calm was really easy. I thought, there's no need to investigate the body. I'll go straight to the mind. I didn't want to contemplate the body. I just wanted to go straight to the mind, straight to the Dhamma. So I went and saw Longpa. He quickly pointed out to me, right now are you peaceful? Right then I was nervous and trembling because I was with Longpa. The peace the heart previously had before totally vanished, and I couldn't even pull myself together. I was flooded with delusion. Then this delusion answered that, yes, I was calm. But all it was doing was taking the state that I had experienced 1 hour ago and using that as an answer. Looking back at it, I wasn't in the present moment at all. I just took a previous state and brought it up as an answer. But Longpa knew that this was just illusion talking. He said to go back and keep investigating the body over and over. This really stuck in my mind. Keep investigating the body right here in this physical mass of sankharas. Still I thought, why does Longpa keep having me investigate the body when my mind is so calm? All I want to do is delve into this mind. I wanted the fast track to Nibbana. But later the deeper levels of samadhi that I had been experiencing subsided. That's how it goes, down, 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 until it's like we have no samadhi at all. We have to go back and carefully tend to the mind anew. We have to reestablish samadhi in the heart. And this is really hard. It's a real struggle, step by step, inch by inch, contemplating death, walking Kamma, sitting in meditation, keeping the mind with the Kamma as much as possible. Slowly but surely, it gets better, step by step. And when it gets better, it's better than before. There's more power in Sotapattimagga than there was before. Getting in and investigating the body as a subha is filthy. Seeing the body as more and more unattractive. The heart experiences greater levels of piti. As we see the unattractiveness of the body, the heart goes into deeper levels of happiness. The more we see the body as unattractive, the greater the peace becomes. It functions back and forth like this. If in the past we saw this body as attractive, its outer appearance as beautiful, then the heart wasn't radiant. It was engulfed in darkness and overrun with kilesas. But if we see the body as something not beautiful, then the heart becomes beautiful, becomes bright and luminous, because it sees the truth. It's as if the heart flips over and experiences true peace. It becomes calm and still. Investigate hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin. When they are refined and broken down, you can see them as elements. Just elements: earth, water, fire, and air. Separate the whole mass out and analyze them as anatta. If we pull them apart and see them as anatta, then the heart comes to peace. Back and forth, pursue it to the end and try to find a self. Separate all the elements and see them as they really are. Understand and know what these elements are like. Take a look inside. Where is the earth? Where is the water? Where is the fire? Where is the air? Really look closely. In and out, back and forth, round and round. Split, divide, and analyze them from every angle that they are just elements. Here's the earth. Here's the water. Here's the fire. Here's the air. Investigate downwards. What is in this body? Poke and prod at it right here. Pick it up and analyze one part. Today, just focus on the water element. What is the water element like in the body? Investigate just this one part. Is this water a person or self? Review and reflect upon it like this. Water is just water, isn't it? Is the water outside us a person or self? So why is water inside this body a person or self then? How is that so? Is it really a being or a person? Investigate this thoroughly and clearly. Bile, phlegm, pus, blood, spit, grease, urine. Investigate them one by one, closely, back and forth, all through the water element until we see the whole mass joined together as anatta. Our heart will come at ease, like a weight has been lifted, because we have seen the truth. Keep on investigating. Look at it over and over again until we feel that its intensity has faded and become flat, until the investigation becomes stale. Then investigate another part, the water element. Change it around often and bring it back to the start and go again. Investigate the earth element as well, the head of the hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin. What are they like? What does the earth element appear like? How does it change appearances? In the end, what does it end up like? Where does it go and where does it come from? Why is it in this state now? In the past, was it the same? Investigate back and forth over and over until it falls apart and is reduced to its original state. The food that we consume is just elements as well. How does it enhance and supplement us? Look at it. The earth adds to the earth, water adds to the water, fire to fire, wind to wind. Investigate right at earth, water, fire, and air. Right here, this mass of 4 elements. Over and over, in and out, right down to the finest details, and then build them up again in fine detail. Do this for clear seeing and understanding. This is wisdom that comes about through investigation. When the mind finds strength, page 52. Throughout my first, second, and third rains retreat, the level of calm in the mind progressed steadily. As each year ended, I was able to look back on it and notice that the level of calm had increased. My mind was at ease, totally cool, like being in air conditioning. So cool and so wonderful. This gradually progressed year by year, and by my 4th rains retreat, the practice really came together. The mind and body felt so cool that I would shiver. If I met with cold weather, I would feel even colder. My bodily elements couldn't adjust to this change. There would just be this continuous feeling of coolness. Some people instead experience heat that pervades the body, but the calm is there. It depends on your own bodily elements. The experience of calm and peace in the heart will manifest accordingly with whatever element is predominant. But this peace can still deteriorate and disappear because it is subject to anicca, dukkha, anatta. When this happens, we have to keep investigating and meditating anew until the heart becomes calm again. After we reattain calm within the heart, the practice starts to get even better. It's like the mind has more strength and meditation starts to get more fun. However, when there are sensory impingements coming in, if we can't contemplate them clearly, then it becomes too much suffering to bear. Severe suffering. Although we want to overcome these moods, we just can't. Doubts and uncertainties spin back and forth. We want to be back on the right path, regaining clarity. Langpa Cha would stress not to worry about it. Leave the doubts alone. They're just a hindrance. When there's no calm, everything seems a mess. The doubts spin around and round, and we feel way off the path and can't seem to get back on. We wonder where to go, but every direction seems to lead only to dead ends. Everything seems dark and hopeless, and we can't get around it. We just paralyze ourselves, and the mind spins round and round, in and out, and the doubts drag us down and then come all again anew. Again liking, again disliking. But if we keep at the practice without stopping, it must progress. The practice will move us forward. Later, when we have come to the point where the power of the mind, the power of samadhi, and the power of investigation are strong and effective, this is where the practice becomes smooth. Whenever we investigate, there is calm. We don't have to tell the mind what to do. At this stage, it knows the path to proceed. At this point, investigation will proceed smoothly by itself, and proceed in the correct way as well. The practice has momentum and there is no doubting, so we start to understand the Dhamma clearly. So to get to this, how do we practice? What do we do? In the start, we have to watch the fundamental things. If we're eating too much, know that this is a kilesa, a basic one. Then watch the mind, this thinking, proliferation and restlessness. We can't make it stop instantly. So we need to keep trying, keeping at it, performing whatever duties we need to perform while keeping up our investigation. As monks, investigation of Dhamma is our primary duty. Kesa, Loma, Nakka, Danta, Tacho. These are the 5 kammatthana which we need to develop. Investigating and contemplating them backwards and forwards. Longpa Chao would usually teach the way to abandon attachment to the body during the ordination ceremonies for new monks. He wouldn't talk about body contemplation so much in his general teachings, but when talking about his personal practice, he recounted how he would visualize other monks and novices as corpses and ghosts as they walked ahead of him on the alms round, or else he would visualize himself as a decomposed corpse. His own strength of mind had already developed to the point where he could contemplate the body fluently in this way. The work of investigation is just like this. If the mind is calm and still, we can understand many things with a greater clarity and understanding. But if this calm isn't yet there, we will just be flooded with doubts and uncertainty. In the beginning, we must investigate anew, bit by bit, developing the strength within the mind. When the practice declines, page 68. For those who have taken up the monastic life, the Kripa Ajahns in the tradition of Lungpa Mun have always stressed developing samadhi. When we have no involvement in work projects, then there is opportunity in the forest and mountains to develop the heart to deeper levels. But if we do have a lot of responsibilities and duties, then we really have to watch over the heart with wisdom. Sometimes we have to rely on contemplation first to bring the heart to calm, but sometimes just by focusing on our Kamma, or on the breath, it becomes calm and quiet. Whatever the case is, these 2 methods can be used accordingly or altered at different times. When the heart has experienced calm and withdrawn from it, we need to get in and investigate this mass of physical form that is the body. We keep at this until there is clarity in our understanding. This is called vipassana. We use the calm to focus our attention firmly within the body for the arising of panya. One kind of panya comes from listening and hearing, another from reflecting and pondering. But the panya that arises from calm is the panya of bhavana. This is vipassana that will give rise to clarity in our heart. We may sometimes experience enormous amounts of piti for a whole month, maybe even many months. If we think that this is vipassana, we lose ourselves to vipassanupakilesa, which is imperfections of insight. If we think that this is vipassana, we lose ourselves to vipassanupakilesa. We aren't interested in taking up the investigation into the body and our own moods and emotions. We may think that we don't need to investigate the elements of earth, air, water, and fire anymore. We feel there is no need, that just watching the mind is sufficient, because when we start to investigate the body, it just switches and wants to drop into calm. This makes us think we only need to investigate the mind, and that it's not necessary at all to investigate the body. Yet Lungpa Cha would always teach to get in and investigate the body. But to just keep investigating the mind won't last very long, and our energy will be depleted. All the calm and peace we experienced will disappear, the same as someone who has never done any meditation at all. All the proliferation takes over again in a flooding wave, liking and disliking all over again. This is calming. We might think that our meditation has fallen apart, but if we rise up with a resolution to put forth effort in every posture, standing, walking, sitting, and lying down, to focus our sati continuously and firmly as we had done before, putting down our various burdens and duties, this should make the calm of our mind come again anew. And this calm will be deeper than before, and our panya will go deeper than before. This is the natural way of progress. This is the natural progress of developing samadhi. Initially, it isn't that firm, it's not so full. So we must go back and reapply ourselves to the practice until the mind is totally solid, without room to fall back and without flaw. Our formal practice will evolve to a new stage of maturity. Therefore, let us all have patient endurance and persistence in our practice. Let us always work towards developing the 5 spiritual powers to perfection. These 5 powers of saddha, faith, virya, energy, sati, samadhi, panya, until they are sources of power for the mind. The parami from this is one of the highest kind will lead us to understanding the Dhamma. Putting forth effort in samadhi is something of the utmost importance. We have to try to steadily apply our minds so as to experience deep calm and peace, to surpass all the moods and emotions, all the Vedana. If we can cross over and rise above the barrier of Vedana, sometimes we will be able to see it as totally separate phenomena from the mind. Whenever Vedana arises within our body, we focus in and investigate it so that the mind pulls away and disassociates from it. This struggle with Vedana is really an exercise of This struggle with the Vedana is really an exercise of development in line with the Satipatthana Sutta. Therefore, every single one of us that have come here, the firm resolve to practice, needs to put forth effort and have patient endurance. If we can keep this practice constant, this will make our minds advance and progress, giving us encouragement to keep practicing further. This is The Noble Ones Rise Out of Delusion, page 74. The Buddha laid down the path, the way out of the vata, round of rebirths, which in essence is kilesas, kamma, and vipaka, kamma result. The cycle of kilesas, the cycle of kamma, the cycle of vipaka, the way out of these cycles is through the practice of sila, samadhi, and panya. Sila, as we probably understand already, is restraining our bodily and verbal actions so that they are blameless. Samadhi is making our minds firm and steady. This firmness and stability of the mind comes from focusing our sati steadfastly. Knowing the in and out breath is one method called anapanasati. This is the foundation, the crown pinnacle of all kammatthana. When we have sati knowing the in and out breaths, or we fix our attention solely on one specific point in the body, the heart will converge, our sati gathers together. Vitakka picks up the object of the breath, meaning it focuses on its one specific object. Vichara keeps and holds the object so that it doesn't wander anywhere. Vichara is wholly with the kammatthana that we are using until piti and sukha arise, bringing about a state of inner fullness. The mind that is still, not moving around here or there anymore, this is the ekagata chitta. It is the mind in one unified state. Calm and stillness arise, and the mind reaches a level of samadhi. The mind will be calm and firm. When piti arises, vitakka and vichara seem too coarse. Then when sukha arises, piti also seems coarse. Finally, when sukha seems too coarse, the mind gathers into unified stillness, and all the factors, piti, sukha, ekagata, merge together and are contained in that stillness. the mind converges into a state of samadhi that is firm. The mind experiences ascending levels of depths and refinement. Piti manifests clearly, then follows sukha, till finally the mind sets and abides in a state of equanimity. This is the practice of samadhi with its various levels from coarse to refined. When the mind is in this unified state of samadhi for a long time, we may fall into delusion and think that this is nibbana, that we have seen the Dhamma. The Dhamma is like this, nibbana is like this. Though this state arises out of samadhi, out of a firm and solid calm, this still isn't nibbana. If this is nibbana, it is a nibbana that only comes about due to a temporary suppression. The klesas of lobha, greed, dosa, anger, and moha, delusion, are still there. If we get into this state, maybe we will fall into delusion and we will get caught into misunderstanding. We might think that we've even seen the Dhamma, that we know the Dhamma, but this view is conditioned by the presence of our samadhi. This kind of thing occurs very often in meditators when their samadhi is firm and strong. But of course, this samadhi is still important. If the mind didn't attach to samadhi, it would just go and attach to forms, sounds, smells, tastes, bodily sensations, and mental objects instead. We need to have sati fastening and focusing the mind into stillness first. We need to learn to become skilled in the area of samadhi until we experience it clearly. Sometimes we might think that developing samadhi isn't important. It's like someone thinking, I've experienced the stage of piti and now I'm set to move to sukha. However, maybe it's only piti at the level of kanika samadhi. But we think that it's piti at the level of upachara samadhi, or the piti of appanna samadhi, or second jhana. We can easily make this mistake. We can even think that next is the third jhana. This happens a lot if we don't know what is real and true and have no experience in an area. It's easy to get caught in delusion about the levels of samadhi because there is wanting expectation there, or tanha. This makes us overestimate ourselves and feel assured that we have attained jhana, or the paths and fruits of the practice. And so we have to use sati to reassess and review ourselves. The Krupa Ajahns taught the way to overcome this delusion over attainments in our practice. If we think we have attained jhana, they would tell us that this isn't certain, that it's not sure. If in the course of our practice we start to think, oh, I'm a Sotapanna already, then they would emphasize that it's not a sure thing. Reconsider it in the light of anicca. This is the way to gain panya. We investigate to see the sabhava, Dhamma, that every state arises is just anicca, dukkha, anatta. Three characteristics all apply together. Don't go grasping anything at all. It's just upadana. We practice to abandon having things or being anything at all. We don't practice to get or to be a Sotapanna, a Sakadagami, Anagami. These are just conventions that refer to the mind of a practitioner who has reached a certain level, but that individual won't attach to a perception of self based on that attainment. They wouldn't attach to the view that they are a this or a that. They would understand these terms as just conventions. In truth, these terms just indicate the progress toward vimukti, liberation. Where we are beyond these conventions and able to escape and pass through all these things that bind us. Abandoning Sakaya Ditti, personality view, Vicit, Kitcha, skeptical doubt, Sila Bhatta, Paramasa, attachment to precepts and practices. This is the start, the preliminary stage. The samadhi of appanna samadhi is strong, powerful, and unified. If we really haven't experienced the heart at one, it's so hard to intellectually understand. We will just have to take someone else's description at face value. At the stage in my own practice where I started to experience some piti, I had the expectation that after I attained that piti, sukha was coming up next. But on trying to enter into sukha, the power of the mind was not sufficient to pass beyond piti, and I couldn't make progress. Without even realizing it, sati wasn't gathering anymore and was gradually getting weaker. It had become so weak now that even piti couldn't be accessed. Why is this? Because we have abandoned the meditation word or abandoned watching the in and out breath. We have to earnestly resume our repetition of our meditation word. Get back in and redo it from the start. Buddho anew, Dhammo anew, Sangha anew. Investigate anew. In the course of our practice, we have to come back and rebuild again on the same spot we started on. We have to establish our sati anew, rebuild, do our practice anew, pursue it constantly and continually until the heart can re-experience peace and calm and get past the moods and emotions again. Then we can be at peace. In the course of my own experience, I experienced and passed through a lot of piti, a lot of sukha. Oh, tremendous amounts of it, even up to the point where it lasted for a whole month. But even if it's like this, still we have to come back and go over the fundamentals of the practice back and forth. We have to keep bringing up the level of the mind over and over again. With vitakka and vichara, we may think that they are gone and we don't need to bother with them anymore. We think that we have passed beyond them, but sometimes we have to come back to vitakka and vichara, back to the breath again. These are the coarser and also more refined levels of the mind that we have to go through in the practice. With every step and with every stage, we can't throw away, but must constantly turn back to our basis, our foundation, and guiding path of our practice. Having sati and doing bhavana, we have to fix our minds on our chosen kammatthana that we are skilled in. Here, we are practicing investigating, breaking apart the elements, breaking apart the khandhas, breaking apart this form we now have. We need to pursue this until we see clearly. When there is clarity, we will know and understand for ourselves. At this point, the one that knows doesn't claim that it is a Sotapanna, Sakkadagami, Anagami, or Arahant. There is only knowing. If the practice is really at this stage, we know what has been abandoned. We also know what more needs to be done. We know and see clearly, but we don't need to talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more we are just bragging. We come to abandon everything, not to blemish the heart further. We are purifying the heart, because in reality, when we have broken through these thick layers and have done the real practice, there isn't anyone here at all. Whatever rupa or nama there is, we will see it all as anicca, dukkha, anatta. So where is the Sotapanna? Where is it to be found? Is it in rupa or nama? Actually, it's only conventions of speech that label levels of attainment. It's the heart that knows rupa or nama, knows that they are permanent. They are only anicca, dukkha, anatta. The knowing that arises from this is the knowing that arises from sila, samadhi, and panya. And then it is all let go of. The heart is poised and maintained in the present moment. So we keep practicing, abandoning the kilesas, then move on to abandon greed and anger little by little until the burden is lighter. The insight of knowing will come clearly into our own heart. We will not need to label this as the stage of Sakkadagami. When we abandon greed and anger, we will know we have reached the stage of Anagami. Once all greed, hatred, and delusion have been abandoned, we will know we have reached the stage of Arahant. This is the progression of someone who has traveled the Noble Eightfold Path, walking the way of sila, samadhi, and panya. Sometimes in the course of practice, we will have the wrong view that we are at this level or that level. This is just mistaken sanya, simply foolish. It doesn't accord with the truth. You really have to be careful. We may experience a calm so deep and profound that it seems to open up the truth, but the Buddha explained that this is just the vipassanupakilesa arising. This is an obstacle to the practice and will create difficulties in the development of vipassana. When we sit meditation, it can happen that a lot of piti arises, a lot of sukha arises, and we experience great peace and calm. Radiance and brightness seem to be all that is left. Maybe we will think that this is magga phala, fruit and path and fruition. We have to be careful and have sati, panya, watching over our experience. Lungpa would always point out that it is anicca. It is only anicca. He taught not to be fooled by this. We may think that our samadhi is so great to the point where we believe we have jhana, or RA, Sotapanna, or that we are even a Sakkadagami. If this comes about, there is obviously still a sense of self there. Lungpa would say that it's uncertain, it's not permanent. And if we think that we are an arahant, this is uncertainty at its highest level. We have to have sati and panya always so we don't fall into this delusion. This will stop others from being deluded about us as well, thinking that we are this or that. Some people would come and ask Lungpa, are you an arahant? But he would just answer that he wasn't anything. If the heart doesn't have anything, how can we be an arahant? If we are still anything, we will still have some suffering there. If we think we are this or that, or that we are already a Sotapanna, some people may disagree and not believe us at all, and this will make our kilesas arise, followed by dukkha. If we think we are an arahant and we have an even bigger problem, because if people don't believe us, it's really going to make us suffer. An arahant would suffer? How come an arahant is suffering? How is this going to happen? How are they going to have anger or greed arising? This just shows that it is difficult to really know. This is something that this Bachatan waited tabo vinyuhiti to be experienced individually by the wise. The Kripa Ajahns whose heart have attained the final goal, the words and emotions they express are simply external modes of behavior. Kamma is not being made. They may speak harshly, softly, timidly, or whatnot, but it's just mere bodily and verbal expression, free of kilesas. They explain it's not kamma, it's kirya, mere action, without upadana. The absence of upadana is something hard to fathom. The mind is one thing, the mind object's another. They aren't the same. Lungpa would give the comparison of a crazy person and the arahant. Sometimes you might look at them and think there is no difference. Lungpa said that this lunatic and the arahant might on the outside might appear the same. But one is traveling on the lower road, the other has traveled on the highest of paths. Therefore, in the course of our practice, we need to always have sati and panya. Whatever we come into contact with, we should know it as an anicca. This will make our hearts wise, not wallowing in low-lying ignorance. When we practice like this, we will understand clearly and be able to let go. When we see people who are acting on delusion, we will understand the situation, that it's anicca, dukkha, anatta. And the start of our conviction comes from faith. We have to believe, and we have belief and we have reverence, though sometimes we have no panya, no wisdom at all. Lungpa gave the example of when he was younger and he met a monk who he believed at first to be an arahant. That monk could act just like an arahant. He could let go of whatever it was, just like an arahant. After a while, Lungpa noticed that this monk's way of practice and behavior had changed. Then he saw the truth of the matter. Oh, I was mistaken. This gave rise to wisdom. In retrospect, these mistakes are normal in the course of practice. It's important to remember. Whether a practitioner is living near or far from the Kripa Ajahn, above all else, we have to keep close to the Buddha. Close, meaning that we have to keep close to the reality of anicca. Anicca has to be embedded within our hearts always. With anicca there, right in our hearts, this supports and helps sustain us whenever any kind of thoughts or feelings come up, good or bad. Sometimes we don't like a certain person, but another person we like a lot. Well, it's anicca. A certain kind of food that we find delicious, this again is anicca. If we eat it all the time, pretty soon we're going to get bored of it. This is just the nature of these things. It's not certain. All the thoughts and feelings we experience, it's all anicca. If we are investigating like this, it shows we have panya. If we can't keep up with these thoughts and feelings, we will go grasping at the five khandhas. This is upadana and gives rise to the suffering in our hearts.
Dhammayan Dhammakataya Sadhu Karam Dadamase.
Sadhu, 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 anumodam.
Questions or comments?
Pali term in the last talk, action without volition intent. Catch that? Kiri.
I've never heard that term before. I was just curious. Is it used in the Pali Canon, and is it used in that way that you use it, or is that something that comes from the commentaries? Or?
I'm not. That's why I'm gonna go check it out.
And Paul Panyavado used it. And I had never heard of it before, so a monk who was staying here who knew a lot of Pali, it was Bhante Sudaso, I asked him about that word. And he found it in the PTS, Pali English Dictionary, and he told me a little bit about it. I think it is a commentarial term. It's referring to something in the commentarial. I'll look into it more though. It's good to remind me.
I did find that part though, it kind of, it was kind of clear that, an arhat, whatever, acts, but it's not with clinging, it's without clinging. So it's the action and the result and the whole nature of it, and then that relationship between the actions and the mind is different completely. But I've never seen that in the suttas like that, so I don't really know.
It's quite often kind of plagued with the dukkha of just having to choose to attend. I'm often why do I have to choose? But you have to attend to something, it seems like. And, I'm often wondering about that. There's a volitional element there. How do you get out of that? There's always got to be some action, there's always got to be some choice.
But the way that an arhat would attend would be completely different from the way an ordinary person would.
Well, I think it is. It's like a choice without any kind of consideration for any kind of future or any kind of, still, it's a tough nut to crack.
It's directed by the Dhamma. At first it's directed by Mara, but when the kilesas go, then it's directed by Dhamma.
Yeah, that subject is only treated very almost you could say tangentially in the Pali Canon. So, things like for most of us the fire is burning, but for the Arahant, it's like the fire has gone out, the coals are cooling off, similes like that. So I do find it helpful when Ajahns are able to clarify their experience or their perspective on these things. The Buddha had his reasons for not really going into detail about describing what an arahant is like, but it is, like other people find, I think it is helpful.
วันนี้หลวงพ่อนั้นพูดถึงสภาพจิตของพระอรหันต์ครับก็เลยพูดถึงจิตใจของพระอรหันต์พระอรหันต์ก็จะมีการแสดงออกแต่ไม่มีผลก็เป็นยังไงบ้างครับเราก็ไม่ค่อยเข้าใจครับ
ไม่มั่นใจเหมือนกัน ผมก็ได้ฟังครูบาอาจารย์มาไม่มีกรรมครับการกระทำคือไม่มีกรรมคือการกระทำอะไรท่านทำด้วยความ เป็นอาการที่เรียกว่าทำด้วยความเมตตาทำด้วยความรักความเมตตาที่จะให้เราเห็นสิ่งที่เราทำแล้วมันผิดอย่างท่านบอกว่าก็จะสังเกตว่าจากหลวงตาท่านก็กริยาการท่านก็จะดุหลวงปู่แบนท่านก็ดุจะพูดจะดุจะด่าหลวงปู่มั่นท่านก็ดุหลวงปู่ชาท่านก็ดุเหมือนกันแต่ว่าการแสดงออกต้องแสดงด้วยความบริสุทธิ์ใจไม่มีที่ว่าจะโทสะโมหะคติก็ลำเอียงรักคนนี้ชังคนนี้ไม่มีนะแต่ท่านพูดออกไปความบริสุทธิ์ใจพูดตามความเป็นจริงนี่คือสภาพจิตท่านจะเป็นกลางๆและจะไม่มีอะไรเข้ามาที่จะทำให้ท่านแบบว่าหลงรักหลงชังแต่ก็ท่านพูดก็ทำไปด้วยการที่เห็นตามความเป็นจริงว่าอะไรมันผิดอะไรมันถูกตามธรรมตามวินัย
What is lam-ing? Do you know that word?
Angled or like unfit.
Biased. Yeah. Cool. Got it. So he's not completely confident about what he said he was going to answer. He said in the beginning he said that, but it was quite good anyway. I asked. I said, "Well, there's an issue we're seeing like if an arhat, they act, but their actions don't create kamma." So I just asked about that. I said, "We don't really understand. We're kind of talking about it. Does he have anything to say?" So he said, "Yeah, they have like when they act, they act from metta. So in order to try to benefit beings, and so it's like, but then depending on their manner or who they are, their girya, then they'll act according to how they think that being will be most benefited, whether it's just speaking to them, or just whether it's watching them, or whether it's actually admonishing them or scolding them for something, and whatever they see is going to be the most beneficial, and then acting according to the nature of just the true nature of things. So like from the Dhamma, and according to Vinaya, seeing what's appropriate to do, and then so for example, like Lungta Mahabua was quite like seen as quite fierce or strong in telling people off, but it was, and also Lungpor Ban is the same. He's quite fierce, and Lungpor Cha also would scold or admonish people as well, and others, and so, but it wasn't something which was coming from like inner anger. They had no, it wasn't anger or delusion that it was coming from, but it was from metta that these actions of theirs were coming from, because they're only seeing according to their own temperament how is that person going to be most benefited, and depending on their temperament, they might see that these people are going to benefit more from being scolded rather than from just ignoring them or just only saying nice things to them, and then also just following the Vinaya. So they follow the Vinaya, and then they act according to just the way things are. Because they act according to the way things are, there's like they don't receive a result in terms of the heart, because results only come from greed, hatred, and delusion, but from metta and so on. It's not generating from the metta of an arhat. It's not generating new kamma, but it's only, say, only emptiness.
That's not something I've ever heard before, that arhat stands outside the bounds of Kamma. Is this something that you've heard before?
Not in, maybe not in those exact words, but...
because he's acting from a place of kindness, would he, according to the laws of Kamma, generating good Kamma?
But it's kindness, say, without hoping for a result, is my understanding. So like when Lungpa Liem described it one time, he said when you do good deeds without any thought of a result, then what you receive in return is emptiness. So I think it might be something like that in terms of, maybe in one sense you could say you get something, which is you get emptiness or you get continued freedom or whatever.
That's new information.
That's what Lumpur Liem told Ajahn Anan when Ajahn Anan was going to take over Amaravati. He went to see Lumpur Liem, and Lumpur Liem said, when you do good deeds without any thought of a result, what you receive is emptiness.
So an arhat or a non-arhat?
He didn't specify. He was probably subtly using himself as an example, because he knows that from experience, and but it's not with the Kruba Ajahns. It's not spoken as clearly as in the suttas.
Did the suttas weigh in on this? I mean, just first of all, to say that it's really not something most of us might have to worry about for a while.
Yeah.
We're totally in the realm of, like, pure speculation at this point, but just like curiosity for here anyway.
Well, just from the dependent origination, like supposedly if there's no avijja, there's no sankhara.
That's what Ajahn Sek was saying. Yeah. You can only get a result if there's greed, hatred, or delusion.
It depends on speculation what you still call it a sankhara if it's not based on avijja, or if you call it something else, like an action that's not based in ignorance. But fundamentally, if there's no ignorance, that's the whole idea of the kind of backwards cessation.
But then the profound aspect is that they do still act, they do still do things and direct themselves in various ways.
Yeah, it's only this sort of thing in the canon, to my recollection, I found maybe a handful of passages that treat it more directly. They aren't, the exact content isn't coming to mind, but certainly, there's these famous passages. But again, it's very, like the Kuba Ajahns actually, it's very almost like cryptic or metaphorical. Things like, the Devas or Mara, they cannot see the Arhat. They have escaped Mara. Mara cannot see them, or that's even said about jhana. Mara cannot see you when you're in jhana, or the classic one about the Dhammapada verse, I believe, about the bird flying, as the bird flies and leaves no trace. So the Arhat or the Tathagata leaves no trace. Things like that. But I'll get back to you. There's a couple passages that come to mind that might be more specific, but yeah, it's generally not elaborated in a doctrinal, specific sense like that.
Yeah, it's sort of like in the realm of like describing what Nibbana is actually like. Like you were saying, it's sort of like, look, find out when you get there. I mean, it's interesting, but like, maybe Tony's spoken right, Ajahn Anan. Otherwise it's just a bunch of blind people sort of grope in theology.
I pushed him on the subject many times actually, because I found it fascinating. Yeah, asked him about it.
Did he say it?
Suitably cryptic in the same way, but the same thing around like sort of I can't remember the exact thing, but something about the like resonating with what he said about the unconditioned nature of some of the Brahma Viharas, like, you know, acting from Dhamma, but I don't remember the exact words.
Yeah, Mike Wake how Jacob.
ไม่ยากครับถ้าไม่เข้าใจเราก็ทุกคนพยายามทำปฏิบัติไปคือก็พูดไม่มันก็สงสัยกันเลยนอกจากเราจะทำตัวของเราให้มันเป็นปัญหาสงสัยพูดง่ายแต่ทำยาก
It's like just every one of us has to try to get there for ourselves, and then we'll figure it out. But because there's still doubts, talking about it doesn't really, even if we talk about it for a long time and maybe think we understand it, we still won't really know unless we actually get there.
เราก็สงสัยกันทุกคนนะครับนอกจากเราจะเราก็ไม่รู้ยังไม่ถึงขั้นนั้นเราก็เหมือนกับเพื่อนจะเริ่มต้นกับเพื่อนจะฝึกหัดปฏิบัติแต่ว่าคือหลังมันเป็นผลก็เหตุคือปัจจุบันคือเราทำปฏิบัติไปปฏิบัติได้ขั้นไหนอาการของจิตจะสงบระดับไหนอันนี้เราจะรู้ด้วยตัวเราจะอ่านหนังสือก็แบบนึงมันก็เป็นปริยัติแต่ว่าพออ่านไปแล้วเราก็มาปฏิบัติเราก็จะรู้ว่าอันนี้มันถึงขั้นไหนเราก็จะบอกเราก็จะหายสงสัยเหมือนมีแม่ชีมาถามหลวงปู่ชาคือปฏิบัติธรรมว่าเป็นยังไงก็มาเล่าให้หลวงปู่ชาฟังว่าไปถึงขั้นนั้นขั้นนี้แล้วถึงโสดาบันสกิทานะครับแต่ว่าไม่ใช่ท่านบอกท่านถึงโสดาบันคือได้โสดาบันหลวงปู่ชาท่านบอกว่าดีกว่าหมานิดนึงพอได้ฟังนั้นไม่ชีก็โกรธกราบหลวงปู่ชาไปเลยดีกว่าอะไรดีกว่าหมาโอ้ไม่ชีบอกว่าไม่ชีได้บรรลุโสดาบันครับหลวงปู่ชาท่านก็เลยพูดดีกว่าหมานิดนึงไม่ชีได้ฟังแล้วก็โกรธกราบหลวงปู่ชาไปเลยอันนี้นอกจากนี้ก็บางทีเราหลงนะเราหลงที่ปฏิบัติไปเราไม่รู้เราคิดไปเองมันจะเป็นอาการคิดแต่เราปฏิบัติไปแล้วได้รู้ว่ารู้แล้วก็รู้อยู่รู้ได้ตัวเราเอง
It's like we have to know in the present wherever we're at, but then so unless we're really well developed in the path, because most of us are just starting out, it's kind of like we might have doubts about these kind of things, and then we want to know, so we might study and so on to try to know what stage we're at, what level we're at. We might look at the books, but really we have to know ourselves, and it's like we're planting the causes in the present, and then we're receiving results also in the present. We're planting more causes in the present to receive results in the future, but then we might think we've attained something or gotten to a certain stage or had a certain say like a certain state that we might go into, and then so we might like check the books or have doubts about it and want to know where are we at, what stage are we at, but it's hard to know from books or from even looking at oneself. It's hard to know, so that's why we just keep going and keep planting the proper causes and keep getting better. There's a story which kind of illustrates this, how it's difficult to know where one is at, where a Mechi went to see Lumpur Cha one time, to get verification of an attainment which she thought she had, and based on her studies or whatever, she believed she had reached Sotapanna, and so she went to Luang Por Chah and basically said, like, because of this and that, I'm Sotapanna, so can you verify that, or what do you have to say, Luang Por? And Luang Por Chah said, oh, that's slightly better than a dog. And she got super angry and left in a fit. Like, she just like paid respects, but left really, really angry and really upset. And so it was this was like, he was showing her actually where she really was at. So just by looking in herself, she couldn't actually tell where she was at or didn't know. But because Luang Por Chah said that, then she knew where she was at. So then this is why we have to like keep practicing and keep testing ourselves in various ways in order to know specifically like where our practice is at. And then, that's... Okay, 9:15.